Okay, so welcome back to another lecture in the Project One series. So in the previous video, we went ahead and created our Docker image of our application. So in this video, what we are going to do is we are going to upload that image to Elastic Container Registry. But in order to do that, we will need an IAM user who has access to upload to Elastic Container Registry. So let's first go ahead and log into our AWS account as a root user, and let's go ahead and create an IAM user with enough permissions in order to push images to Elastic Container Registry. So let's go to IAM. The way that we would go to IAM is clicking on services and clicking on IAM under security, identity, and compliance. So now let's go ahead and create a new user for ourselves. So let's add a new user. Let's call this user as ECR admin. Let's give this user only programmatic access because we are going to use this AWS CLI in order for us to go ahead and configure the access key ID and secret access key, which will in turn give us enough permissions to go ahead and upload our image to ECR. Okay. So we are calling this user as ECR admin with just programmatic access. Under permissions, we are going to attach existing policies directly, and I'm going to search for Amazon ECR if it's available. Yeah, it's Amazon EC2 container registry full access. I'm just going to give this user container registry full access alone. I hope that would be more than enough for us to push images to ECR. Let's click on tags, not going to associate any. Let's create the user. Okay. So once we have created the user, please do take a note of the access key ID and secret access key. So therefore, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back to my terminal window where I have already logged into my EC2 instance, which is my local development environment EC2 instance. So if you guys haven't logged into the EC2 instance, please do log into the EC2 instance where we have our Docker image available. So if we just type Docker images, you should be able to see the student image available from the previous class if you're following along. So now what we are going to do is we are going to configure the AWS CLI. The way that we would do that is if we type AWS configure, I think it's 1E. Okay, so if we type AWS configure, it's going to ask us for our access key ID and secret access key. So AWS CLI should already be installed since we are using the Amazon Linux AMI. So let's type AWS configure, and the access key ID and secret access key it's asking for. So let's just grab the access key ID and the secret access key. Okay, let's probably just copy it. Yep. And we are going to give our region name as US-East-1, and the default output format is going to be JSON. Okay. So once you have configured your access key ID and secret access key, now you will have full access in order to go ahead and push images to Elastic Container Registry. The other way that you would possibly do this is attach an IAM role to the EC2 instance. So if you ask me which is the best practice over here, I would say attaching IAM roles to EC2 instance would be the best practice rather than hard coding your credentials. So I just wanted to show this because I want you guys to understand as to how to configure your AWS CLI. But then you should always associate an IAM role that has enough permissions in order to push images to Elastic Container Registry. Okay. So let's move on. So what we are going to do right now after configuring our AWS CLI is to create a repository in Elastic Container Registry. So going back to the browser, clicking on services, find Elastic Container Registry from under containers. So once you have clicked on Elastic Container Registry, we are going to create a new repository for ourselves. Let's click on Get Started. This is the repository endpoint that is auto-generated for you for US East 1. Let's go ahead and call this as student. And we are not going to enable tag immutability, not also enable scan on push, but we can also do that. But again, we are going to stick within the free tier in order to just get some basic privileges. Okay. So let's go ahead and create the repository. So once you have created the repository, the way that we would push to the repository is to first log into the repository by exchanging our access key ID and secret access key to get a login token back, which we'll be using in order to authenticate ourselves and access Elastic Container Registry, specifically our repository called as student. So in order to do that, just click on your student repository and click on view push commands. And instead of doing this command, which is in the latest version of the CLI, I'm just going to open up registry authentication in a new tab. And over here, I have one legacy way of doing it. So instead of using the get login password, what we are going to do is we are going to use just the get login. And this is the command that we are going to fetch from this document. And we are going to go back to our terminal and execute this command. Once we execute this command, it is going to spit out an error right now because we need to specify the region. And the region is nothing but US East 1. So let's go ahead and change -- region to US East 1. And now we should get that token. So we are doing a Docker login to the Elastic Container Registry, and just copy this entire command and paste it back once again. And you should be able to see login succeeded. And once you're able to see login succeeded, now we are ready to go forward with the next steps. So now we have authenticated with the registry. The next step that we are going to do is tag our student in such a way, our image in such a way that it points to our repository URL. Okay. So copy this command, which is the third command. Since we have already built, we are just going to copy it. Okay. So let's go ahead and copy this command, and which is going to do nothing but a retag of student:latest to the endpoint. So now if you go back and type Docker images, you should be able to see that we have the student image and we also have one pointed to the ECR repository. So let's grab this entire repository or this image name, and let's go ahead and type Docker push and give the image name. It's going to directly start pushing all of your artifacts, which is nothing but your Docker image, to Elastic Container Registry. So I'll just reiterate the steps by the time this uploads. So the first step is to go ahead and authenticate yourself with the Elastic Container Registry. You can do that using an IAM role, or you can create an access key ID, secret access key for an IAM user who has enough permissions to push to Elastic Container Registry. And then you can use the command that I showed you, which is the get login command, in order to get the login credentials, and then use that in order to get it, in order to authenticate yourself to Elastic Container Registry. And then go ahead and retag your image in such a way that it points to the repository, which is your student repository. And then go ahead and use the push command in order to push your image to the student repository. So let's go back to the console. Let's take a look at that image. So click on your student repository. You should have one image over here. Brilliant. So we do have one image over here, which is of the latest tag, which is nothing but our code. So right now, if anyone takes this image and runs it within a container, they should be able to connect to our database, provided they are running all of this setup within our account. But right now, what we are going to do is we are going to take this image and run it within a cluster of EC2 instances by using the Elastic Container Service, or ECS service. And we are going to have that container registered to the load balancer to a specific target group. Okay, and then we will see the output from the load balancer. So I'll catch you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay safe and take care. I'll catch you in the next video, guys. See you.